He's back.
Yeah.
He's not leaving me by
Don't wanna
myself
be.
this week. Miami
Not yet.
Vice is, Jason Miami Vice is here. Yeah, so welcome everyone to NFL Saturday edition. Welcome to the Facebook viewers. You're new to the party here. A little late to the party maybe, but you're new to the party nonetheless. I'm glad to see you all. Well, I can't say glad to see you all here because I can't see you. But
No, you can see us, but we cannot see you.
the sentiment is there. That I will say.
Yeah.
All right. So coming up on the show, we're going to start with our takeaways, and then we'll have the NFL coaching carousel, and we'll wrap things up with our super wild card weekend predictions. But of course, again, we start with our takeaways. Since you were not here last week, I think I'll let you start with this.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't just wearing this division champs shirt for, I guess, nothing. Yeah, they won it 2 years in a row. I'm happy about that. But the real question is, are the Pats the true test to go all the way?
That's iffy. That's iffy.
And here's where I say yes, I think they will be. Because, say you do beat the Pats. Next week, you could go up against the Chiefs. You beat them already. You beat them in Kansas City. So it can be done. I think the true test for the Bills just might be the Pats and maybe the Titans. Give or take if if the Cincinnati Bengals somehow get into that AFC Championship picture, which is not out of the question. They have a really good young team.
This Bengals team is a lot more loaded and a lot better disciplined now than they were with
when
Marvin
they first
Lewis.
started. Yeah. Plus, they have a quarterback that's been in the big moments, has played in the national championship game. So if he knows anything about playing in big games, why not have Joe Burrow himself, Jamar Chase, two of the rising stars in the NFL. But I'll go back into the Pats and Bills. Pats, they won one at Buffalo. Buffalo won one in New England. This is the rubber match. This is the tiebreaker, if you will. New England, they're used to this kind of weather. They played the Bills in a very windy 50, 60 mile per hour wind gust, where Mac Jones only threw it 3 times and they ran the rest. Beat the Bills that way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to not exactly have the same kind of conditions, but it's going to be super cold. So that ball is going to be like throwing a rock. It's literally going to be so cold. The grip on it's not going to be easy to catch.
And I will say this is conditions that benefit Bill Belichick, but I will leave that till the picks come in.
Yeah, so that's why I say I think the Pats are the true test for the Buffalo Bills if they want to go all the way. Because if you get past them, it's up in the airs of who's going to be there for them next. It really is. That's why I say that. Go to my second point. I really do think that the Colts are the best team that didn't make the playoffs.
Today's pros need today's
No doubt.
tools.
They really are. It really does suck to not see them in. Because I will say, if they got in, they would have been the scariest wild card team of any of the wild card teams.
Yeah. I just want to quickly point out that the fans that are calling for Frank Reich to be fired for missing the playoffs, at this point, you really don't know football. Frank Reich is a hell of a coach. Okay,
it's only 1 year he missed. No. He was there last year with Phillip Rivers, so I don't understand it.
He's had 3 different quarterbacks for the last 3 years.
I know.
Cut him some slack. Okay? Look, you guys were on the cusp of the playoffs. You would rather implode the entire coaching staff and then risk going 3-14 next year. Okay? You Indy fans are a little too melodramatic about your teams, and you need to chill out, okay?
Oh, I know.
Jim Irsay picked Frank Reich, and Frank Reich was the best choice, and to me, I'm telling you right now, if Frank Reich was released on Monday, he'd have a job today. No questions there.
All I gotta say is if Frank Wright was ever to be released and say Brian Dable was to get a head coaching job, Buffalo,
Nope.
for the love of God, bring him back to Buffalo because that would help out the running game so much.
There's no coordinator, there's no former head coach out there that's interviewing for a job that is better than Frank Reich right now. Okay.
Oh, I know.
Plain and simple.
If he was to get released today, I think he's the hottest guy for any team.
The only ones are Jim Harbaugh, who has been egging on everybody for years. We'll get into that in a little bit. And then, of course, I can't really say Eric Bieniemy because Eric Bieniemy has not had a head coaching gig, so I won't talk on him.
Right. But going into my last point, again with the Pats, Miami does win at home. They had a sizable lead, and due to good old Miami fashion, they kind of almost damn near blew that lead. At one point, it was 24 to, or 27 to 14. I want to say, or close to it. And just like that, 27-24. I'm seeing this game live, and I'm like, well, damn. New England's going to somehow find a way to come back and win this game. And then, I will say, give credit where it's due. The Miami Dolphins punter gets them within their own end zone. This is where Mac Jones shows his rookie side. There is one time in that game where he had wide open space. He could have just ran for the first down. What does he do? He runs, throws the ball incomplete. I'm like, yep, that's a rookie mistake right there, if I ever saw one. I think the second rookie mistake is you're trying to lateral it into your own end zone. And then the ball goes up, gets intercepted in the end zone by the Dolphins for a touchdown.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this now. Josh McDaniels, what the hell were you thinking on that play? You're deep in your own end zone, and the best you think you're going to do is like, fuck it. Lateral. No. You don't lateral it. If anything, you throw a short pass, and then you start lateraling it, kind of like the Miami Miracle a couple of years ago in Miami.
Yeah.
Use their own play against them.
And the only reason that play worked...
You don't start lateraling it in the end zone, because that right there, that's what's going to happen every single time.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the only reason that play actually worked was because Gronk was in the secondary.
Yeah, Gronk is slow.
Maybe you should stick to USAA commercials.
Yeah. They might need some insurance after that.
Insurance he'll never get.
That's pretty much my takeaways there, honestly.
All right. Well, if you've seen my Twitter lately, it is not at Tinkle Sports, but the other Twitter, at Tinkle_BHummel. You've seen that on Sunday night. I got into a little bit of a war with a Raiders fan. You know, I don't shy away from wars. And I don't shy away from fights I don't know, or that I know I can win. And I'm telling you, right now. So I'm not going to call this guy out because, frankly, I don't want any more trouble. But I will say this guy, or I'm sorry, I won't call him out by name because I don't want to add to the trouble that I'm already in, causing the, well, not that I'm in trouble, but, so needless to say, he's like, the Raiders stuck fear and doubt into this heartless Chargers team. Really? This heartless Chargers team, I believe, went 6 for 6 on 4th down if you count overtime and the 4th quarter. I'm just saying, you know,
Yeah, I know.
you want to call heartless, you know, that's one thing. Your team had, okay, the Raiders had a chip on their shoulder this whole season. If it wasn't for John Gruden, Henry Ruggs, and on top of it, the passing of John Madden, there's been so much on this Raiders plate. I'm telling you, they've earned their spot. But what I will say is they got a lot of extra help to get there. Okay? They got way too much help to get there, not just by our defense, but by the penalties. All you need to do is look at the differential in penalties to tell you. Now, I don't like using penalties as an excuse, but when you have 15 penalties on one team and only 4 on the other, I'm sorry, that's going to be very telling of the more telling of the result than the actual result itself. And not to mention, the one pass interference gave them a free 7 points. So technically, you take those 7 points away, the Chargers are in the playoffs. But I'm not going to whine and bitch about it like a little kid.
Right.
You know, they didn't deserve to be there because they played like shit in the first few quarters. Now, if you count the 4th quarter and overtime, the Chargers absolutely deserved it over the Raiders. We were beating them in the 4th quarter and overtime. You know, we played with more heart than we played all year. And what I will say is to those doubting Brandon Staley, look, it's his first year as a head coach. He's a rookie coach. I hope this doesn't mean he's headed to the graveyard of other Chargers coaches, but you know, I like that he's gutsy. That's the one thing I like about him is he's very gutsy. He's not afraid to go for it on 4th down. Granted, there are some points he needs to learn to take the points instead of going for it.
Right.
But I'm telling you, like I said, we talked last year. We thought it was going to be Brian Daboll as the Chargers coach. It looked like all signs were pointing to that. And I'm telling you, we never made a mistake. Brian Daboll was nowhere near as good of a coach as this guy is.
I mean, as much as of course I'll go into it more, but I will say I was watching towards the end of that game, and man, I will tell you, as soon as Herbert threw that touchdown pass to
Mike Williams there.
Yeah, Mike Williams,
Mike
tall,
Williams
speedy
saved
receiver.
His career.
I was like, oh shoot, this is about to go into overtime. Herbert, you're right. He did put the team. He literally put the team on his back. And I honestly, that whole entire game, like 30-something seconds left into overtime. I honestly, I didn't watch it overtime because that was when I had to go to bed. Wake up at 4 in the morning to get ready to come back to Rochester.
Yeah.
But if I was to say watch that, and I was watching that moment, I was like, you might as well just take the tie and just get it done and over with.
Well, the Chargers made the mistake of calling the timeout.
From what I heard is that he called a timeout, and the Raiders were like, okay, screw you. Apparently you don't want to tie, so we'll just kick the game-winning field goal and get it done and over. Mm-hmm. So, in that regard, you kind of shot yourself in the foot to get your chance into the playoffs. Because, penalties are inexcusable. Yeah, the defensive play even worse. But your offense was what carried you into getting an overtime. Yeah. And then you were this close to tying it and going into overtime. And what do? You call a timeout. Oh.
Here's the thing. You know what close is only good for, okay? You and I both know what close only counts for in real life, horseshoes and hand grenades.
Yeah, I know.
We're not playing
exactly.
horse, or we're not playing horseshoes, and we're not playing with hand grenades here. We're playing football. And I will
True.
tell you, the decision making will get better with more experience because
Oh
keep in
yeah, of
mind
course.
he kind of moved up through the ranks really quick. He was a Denver assistant, like D lineman coach, I believe, before he was defensive coordinator of the Rams, and then after his first year, got promoted to head coach. So
I mean, don't
that's
get me
where I'll
wrong.
leave it.
Sometimes these Rams coordinators do very well
Yeah,
as head coaches.
I think he
Clearly, I
will.
mean,
I'm very high on him.
but again,
Yeah,
I guess the blame you could put on that is, yeah, the team should have not had to even come back from behind. That's one. But two, you look at it as like, yeah, rookie coach kind of made a rookie mistake, but
yeah,
you can't put all the blame on him,
but
honestly, in that situation. He shouldn't have been in that situation where he had to even take the time out in
yeah.
the first place.
But you know what?
So,
If you want to work on anything this offseason, first off, you need to work on your receiving core because if I'm not mistaken, the Chargers had a lot of open field drops in that game that should have been catches. Okay? Not just Mike Williams. It's been kind of a habit all year because we
mhm.
lost Hunter Henry. Fix that issue with the wide receiver core. We did a good job of fixing the injuries because we haven't had many injuries this year, many significant ones. The other thing is you gotta upgrade that tight end position. Okay, Jared Cook is just a shadow of his former self. Plain and simply, Zach Ertz is entering free agency this offseason. I'd take Zach Ertz at this point. I would make him an offer he can't refuse because he really rejuvenated his career in Arizona this year.
Or
I don't even like Gesicki or the other ones. I'd rather have an established tight end.
or get somebody that you can develop, kind of like Buffalo did with Dawson
Yeah,
Knox. They got very lucky this year with him.
yeah. But here's the
But
other thing. Retaining Mike Williams this offseason, and frankly, you're going to have Juju Smith-Schuster. You're going to have Allen Robinson. We have the cap space. Add to that
yeah,
receiving core.
but do you want? I mean, nothing against Juju, but I think he's kind of a cancer to the locker room just because
True,
he
true.
doesn't take
Scratch the
really
Juju
playing.
comment.
Allen
But
Robinson will definitely be
yeah,
a very
add
interesting
add
name.
Allen Robinson. I mean, Guyton has shown improvements, and I like Guyton, but I just don't know if he's a true number 3 yet. I'm hoping year 3 for him will prove that. Palmer's good. He's getting better. But like I said, if we can add Allen Robinson to that mix, I mean, look at the weapons Joe Burrow has compared to Justin Herbert. I mean, like I said, Justin Herbert, for the most part, just has Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. There's really no inside threat that's like, no consistent inside threat. Okay. We have arguably a top 5 running back, top 10 without question in the league in Austin Eckler. I mean, the weapons are there. And then the other thing is they've got to fix that run defense. To allow Josh Jacobs to run 26 times for 150 something yards in that game is unacceptable, especially considering he had a rib injury. I believe he had bruised ribs entering the game, and he played with that injury. I'm not saying, and I've said it on this show from the beginning when we started a year ago, if a player's injured, that's the target spot. Hit him a couple times
Yeah.
there. Don't re-injure him, but hit him hard enough to intimidate him. And frankly, that's all you had to do was send Bosa or someone after him. Just take a nice shot to the chest and make him have to catch his breath the rest of the game.
Right.
Okay, that's the kind of aggressiveness we need to see from this defense, and we just haven't seen it in the final weeks.
Oh, I know.
Okay, and also the discipline on the secondary as well. But anyway, I've spent enough time on this first one. So the second one, I propose this question: are the Packers in trouble post Aaron Rodgers? Because keep in mind now, 0-2 with Jordan Love playing this season.
Wait, did he play in that last game
Yep,
too?
he played in the last game, and that's why they lost to Detroit.
Yes, they most certainly are in trouble post
Yep.
Rodgers, which could happen this offseason. I have no idea. Time will only tell.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, Jordan Love is definitely not your franchise quarterback after Aaron Rodgers leaves.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm the Green Bay Packers, I would look into getting a solid veteran backup until Jordan Love can get a little bit more established.
I'd look at Trubisky at this point.
I mean, it would suck to lose him because, if Josh Allen was to somehow get hurt, at least Trubisky can get into the fold. He's got playoff experience. He's got starting experience.
Yeah.
That's what you kind of want. You want somebody that's been there, done it,
Yeah.
been in those situations as a backup quarterback. That's what makes a good, solid backup. Not somebody that, he's a rookie, he hasn't really had much experience, throw him into the wolf pack as a backup. No, you don't do that.
And here's the thing, we were in that situation, I believe, last year, or the last few years, where is Mitchell Trubisky really a dumb quarterback, or is it Matt Nagy that's a dumb coach? And let's face it, we now got the answer to that one, and it wasn't Mitchell Trubisky. So
No, because Mitchell Trubisky has shown signs that he can excel in whatever offense is put around him.
Yeah. So I'm going to just tell you, though, I think in terms of that game, we were talking Matt LaFleur should be coach of the year a few weeks ago. I believe you said that. Matt LaFleur should be in the running. I think he just debunked his case. I mean, because at the end of the day, that just shows that's all Rodgers, not Matt LaFleur whatsoever. And I'm telling you another thing, I think this shoots Hackett in the foot in terms of getting a head coaching gig.
Yeah, probably, because I did forget that. It's honestly hard to believe Nathaniel Hackett started in his NFL career with the Buffalo Bills. If anybody forgets about that, when Doug Marrone was the head coach, Nathaniel Hackett was his offensive coordinator. That's where he got his start. Hard to believe that he's had an all-right career in the NFL as an offensive coordinator.
Boy, Doug Marrone should have gotten more chances than just the Jags. That's all I'm going to say.
Probably, but again, yeah, I guess, Brian, you're welcome that the Buffalo Bills helped you cash in big.
Wait, what? Sorry, I missed.
Your last takeaway. I guess you're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Buffalo...
Yeah, thank you, Buffalo. It's not even a takeaway. I just want to say thanks for the $40, Buffalo Bills. DraftKings, as you know, if you saw last week's show where I was sitting here on my own island crying in my soup because I had no one to help me. I'm kidding. It didn't go that way. But yeah, so DraftKings, Caesars Sportsbook, FanDuel, all legalized in New York State last Saturday. And of course, I decided to get in on the fun. I did a same game parlay and won $40 on a $10 bet for the Bills to beat the New York Jets and under 40 points. So thank you to those guys thank you to the Bills for giving me $40 or $41.01 to be exact. All right, on to the NFL coaching carousel, and of course no story bigger than Brian Flores getting fired. 24-25, only one game below 500 in his 3 seasons with the Dolphins. He won 8 out of his last nine games this season. Other firings include Matt Nagy of the Bears, Mike Zimmer of the Vikings, Joe Judge and the Giants,
Yep.
Vic Fangio and the Broncos, and David Culley
David
with
Culley.
the Texans. David Culley was the only one-and-done coach in the league this season. Jason, first off, what are your thoughts on these firings? Oh my goodness.
See, there was definitely some ones that made the most sense, but then there was other ones that, there was one that honestly didn't. I think the only reason why Brian Flores really got fired in the first place, I just didn't think that I think the GM and the owner was just we were like, well, we'll give you 3 years. You can't take us to the playoffs within that 3-year period. You're gone. You're gone. Plus 24-25 in 3 seasons. That's kind of horrible.
Here's where I'm gonna disagree. Oh, sorry.
But Brian Flores has done enough in the last 2 years that should have been able to help him keep his job.
Mm-hmm.
You were so close the last 2 years to get in. What I would have done is they would have gave him 1 more year and be like, okay, we'll give you 1 more year. Somehow find a way to like bring the team together, get a good team around you, and finally get this team into the playoffs for the first time since like 2016. So that's what I would have done. I will say that he will be with another team next year.
Yep. He's going to get scooped up, the first coach this offseason that'll be scooped up. What I'm going to say about... Here's the thing. We expected these other coaches. What I do want to start off by talking about Vic Fangio, though, before I get into Brian Flores. It appears in the last few weeks, the stories coming out of Denver were Vic Fangio was highly respected by his defensive players, highly respected by his offensive players, kind of like a Ron Rivera in a way. So this job is going to be interesting going forward. Really, the Broncos franchise is going to be an interesting twist going forward right now. But as far as the Dolphins go, this is... You know, it's very rare I agree with Dan Orlovsky on anything, but I agree with him here when he says Brian Flores getting fired is worse than Jim Caldwell being fired. Okay? You can't fire progress. Plain and simple. Okay? You cannot fire progress. I don't care that you missed the playoffs the last 2 years. You guys were on the fringe of making it. Last year, the AFC was very competitive. And frankly, the Dolphins should have been in the playoffs last year. You could argue at 10-6. It's rare that a 10-6 team doesn't make the playoffs. Okay? It was just one of those rare years. This is nothing more than Stephen Ross trying to flex his muscles and say, I have control of this team and you don't.
Yeah, I know.
Okay? That's plain and simple. He's pulling that card. He's clearly not liked Brian Flores from the start because apparently the team wanted him to tank. To my knowledge, I heard Brian Flores wanted Herbert and the front office wanted Tua. Okay, you're not going to win games if you don't let your coach and if you don't give him the right pieces. The other rumors about he said to Tua that he wanted Mac Jones instead of him. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that, okay? That's all he said, she said bullshit.
I know. That's why when I saw that, I couldn't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
It just looked like it was fake anyway.
But here's the thing. Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. You were headed down a road where next year you were probably going to make the playoffs. In all likelihood. you were headed for a 3-team AFC East battle for years to come with Brian Flores. Probably the best coach to come out of Bill Belichick's tree right there. I'm telling you, I'm just baffled by the fact that they let him go. And don't turn this into a race thing, okay? This is a Stephen Ross wants power, and he is going to flex his power so long as he holds whatever position it is that he holds in this team. So, and I'm going to tell you another thing. If you don't hire a guy like Jim Harbaugh or Eric... Actually, I'll get into that in a moment when we get over to our best coaching candidates. But basically, if you don't have a big name candidate in mind, I'm sorry, you just blew it. Blew it.
Yeah.
But
I guess we might as well get into that.
Let's get into our best coaching candidates. So I'm just gonna list the teams. Well, actually, first let's go by most attractive jobs to least attractive. Jason, which ones, if you count the Raiders that are with an interim head coach, although I doubt there's going to be an opening, what job would you say is the most desirable?
The most attractive ones?
Yeah.
Well, I'll probably say the most attractive one to me, just talent-wise, is probably the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of talent on that team, especially offensive-wise. You have Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson. I mean, you have Kirk Cousins, who is hit and miss, but
Kirk Cousins last year had a near MVP year.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's an attractive job to me because they're like way being a playoff contender every single. So I think they're the most attractive job. Then it kind of goes into, as weird as it seems, I think the Raiders, because if you give them like a good, maybe a good defensive-minded head coach, and I thought that would, if you give them a good defensive-minded head coach, I think they can be scary. Max Crosby
has emerged as kind of a Joey Bosa type player. Very explosive off the edge.
Yes, he is very explosive off the edge. So that's why I'm saying I think that might be an attractive job because if you can really help out that defense being a powerhouse, and then, I mean, the offense isn't exactly terrible, but it could definitely be reworked. That might just be... I definitely think that the Dolphins are maybe like second, third type of attractive job. Then it goes probably the Broncos. Then the Bears. Then the Texans definitely last. The Texans is not a very attractive job.
Giants probably
I feel
bottom too, right?
Yeah, the Giants are definitely bottom of the list.
Mm-hmm.
I would probably say second to the bottom, definitely the Giants. They don't exactly have the worst team in the NFL. Texans are just god awful.
Yeah.
I feel bad for whoever has to go in there and rework that Texans team. The only good thing about the Texans is you have Brandon Cooks. That's about it.
Yep.
Other than that,
and that's
you don't
not
have
even
that
a big selling point.
No, not really at all. So it's going to be hard for top name-wise to go in there.
Yeah.
So
to be honest, if we include the Raiders, I'd say there's about 5 jobs. Now, I listed most desirable to least, but really, if you hit the 5 mark, it's not totally undesirable. Okay? Really, it steeply drops at 7 and 8. Okay, it really drops them, but I'm telling you, how I look at it is, if you want to rebuild an organization or build something special, the Jags are the number one. Clearly,
Oh, I almost totally forgot about the Jags.
they have the picks. If you're a coach that wants to come in and build your own thing, the Jags is your team. Plain and simply. You got a young quarterback. You got a decent running back coming back from injury next year.
Mm-hmm.
And really, you can build. I mean, the defense needs a lot of work. The offense, you could use a couple weapons. But you can essentially build your own system there. Now, if you don't want to build your own system and you want to just jump in and say, hey, this, this team's already established, let's keep the ball rolling, the Dolphins might just be that team. I put them number 2 because they've already got an established top 5 defense. Tua's been up and up, and he might be poised for a year 3 breakout. They also got 2 strong weapons. Actually, 3 if you count Gesicki. So,
yeah, but Devontae Parker really didn't have that strong of a year.
Yeah. But needless to say, though, you've got Waddle. You've got some other weapons there. I had the Raiders number 3 because, let's face it, I'm telling you, I just don't buy. Here's the thing, I think Biscaccia is staying. Just for the record, I think there's no way you can fire Rich Biscaccia after he brought you to the playoffs.
Right.
And what I will say is, if you fire him, you need to fire Gus Bradley. He's not the answer at defensive coordinator. I'll just leave the Raiders' opinion on that. The Vikings, another team, a coach could just jump in and win right away. But, and there's a huge but here, the defense is going to need a little bit of reworking. It's not quite top 10, so there's things that can definitely be improved there. It's not a totally jump in, all around balanced team, as opposed to the Bears. It's hard to gauge if the Bears are the all around team when you had a coach who was really incompetent at his job. Okay.
I know.
You want to talk about, here's the thing, if Matt Nagy doesn't get another job in the NFL, boy, he'd make a great used car salesman, because he must have really aced that interview to get that job. Plain and simple. Okay, he must have said everything right and then got the job. Okay.
Well, that's what happens when you're a former Andy Reid.
I don't even put it on that. Plain and simple. He negotiated his way into that job. The Broncos are an iffy team because the Broncos, again, based on the reports, another he said, she said sort of thing. But if it's true, then the Broncos probably not a desirable job, because now you've got to earn the respect of your defense back, which is not a tall task. Look at what's going on in Carolina right now. Carolina's a mess. Okay.
Not gonna lie, I'm quite shocked that Matt Rule didn't get released.
Yeah, but he has to pick an all-star offensive coordinator, which frankly at that point you should have fired him. But anyway, then it goes Giants and Texans. I don't even have to explain why. They're just a dumpster fire. So, all right, let's get on to the picks for the head coaching positions. We're just going to skip the Raiders because I think we both are on the same page that we think Rich Biscaccia is keeping the job.
Honestly, that makes the most sense.
Let's go with the Bears. Who do you think gets this job? Who would you think's the best fit?
I would think somebody off.
He said offensive-minded, just for those that didn't hear it because of the cutout.
Oh, sorry. Offensive-minded head coach for the Bears. As far as that goes, you would have to bring in somebody that can develop Justin really well. Let's just say, like, we bring in Brian Flores for the Bears job. I think that he would probably make the most sense for
He's
the
defense,
Bears.
but yeah.
Yeah, well, he's defense, but I think he's somebody that can help out the defense. I mean, you, I wouldn't say they have they have a terrible defense. Their defense is actually pretty good. Bringing somebody like like Brian Flores, who's to say the Bears somehow become like a top 5 defense?
Hmm.
That just
True.
might be enough to help them out.
I think this could put Mack back on the books as one of the best defensive pass rushers there.
Yeah, so I think Brian Flores going to the Bears makes sense. The Vikings.
Oh, I didn't even get to make my pick. What are you doing?
Oh,
all right.
sorry, I thought
Yeah.
we were going
No.
like.
So,
Oh,
well, needless to say, I agree with you. I put Brian Flores because I think that defense is top 5. Fields kind of has similar attributes to Tua Tagovailoa. And to be honest, they're a balanced team. And even if you don't want Justin Fields, you've got Nick Foles and you got Andy Dalton. So you got options
exactly.
at quarterback. And really, you're kind of stuck with them. To be honest, there's really no choices. But anyway, let's go on to the Jags position, actually. With the next one. Sorry, I'm just going to go down the list of what I got here.
No, it's alright. I mean, I guess Bill O'Brien can make sense. But the thing is that do you really want somebody that can get you into the playoffs and then you lose first round every single time? That's the thing. And Bill O'Brien, I mean, I guess technically did help develop Deshaun Watson. And look where he was before. This is also before he did everything he did.
Yeah.
I think he could come in, develop Trevor Lawrence into said really good quarterback. I mean, the weapons that they have on offense, exactly the best. They're not terrible either. Marvin Jones did really well. I mean, he came up with some clutch moments. I think he could be the right kind of guy that can bring the right pieces and for them. So
Yeah.
I guess somebody like Bill O'Brien, if not, I don't know, like Jim Harbaugh or something like that. I don't know.
I don't know.
But let's just go with Bill O'Brien.
Yeah. I don't like Bill O'Brien, to be honest. I just, after the Texans run, I just don't have much respect for him. I think he should get a college head coaching job. I think he'd do really well there. And to be honest, he was building something really good at Penn State before he left. And let's also look at it at this standpoint. His play calling might have also costed Alabama the game. I'm just going to put that out there. The pick 6 at the end. But anyway, as far as the Jags go, this is a shot in the dark. Like, a serious shot in the dark. But I'm going Jim Caldwell. I think Jim Caldwell is an excellent pick for this job. Now, he hasn't coached since 2019. So it's going to be a little bit of an adjustment, but the way I look at it, he was fired by Detroit and the Colts unjustly. Okay, he's a product of the Tony Dungy coaching tree. Tony Dungy's a Hall of Famer, and a well-deserving Hall of Famer in every respect. And look at Jim Caldwell's track record with quarterbacks. Joe Flacco had career years under Jim Caldwell. Okay, when Jim Caldwell was the offensive coordinator of the Baltimore Ravens, he had his best years. Okay, so I think he can do that with Trevor Lawrence. On top of it, I think he could build well against Trevor Lawrence. It may be 9-8 for a few years, but I think after that is when you'll really start seeing progress in Jacksonville, especially on the offensive front. So that's why I like Jim Caldwell as the best candidate for this job.
just think that job might be very desirable because you got the first overall pick in the NFL draft, and you can
And
go anywhere with that.
you already got a good quarterback and a good running back that really didn't even get to see the field last year. Quite frankly, you might have a good committee style approach. But anyway,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, now let's go on to the Vikings job here.
Get the parts fast and the job done faster.
I don't know. This one, I would think that like a Brian Dable or a Josh McDaniels would make the most sense. Because I think that, like, yeah, your defense definitely needs to get worked. But I think you should work on your advantages on what, is good for that team. And I think it's definitely their offense. So,
yeah. Makes sense.
Brian Dable knows how to work really well with quarterbacks. And he's worked with a guy like Diggs the last 2 years. Who's to say he can have the best success with Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen? So I'm going to say I think this is the year that Brian Dable gets from Buffalo and becomes a head coach.
I'm gonna sound the buzzer there. You know what? I'm gonna say this team is a team that could benefit from a really young new head coach to the NFL, and I think you know where I'm going with this. I'm picking Kellen Moore as the head coach. Kellen Moore, let's face it, he deserves every bit of credit for Dak Prescott's development. I get it; they haven't beaten a 10-win team all year. But there's a reason Jerry Jones said to Mike McCarthy, I want Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator. Okay. There's a reason he didn't let Mike McCarthy make that change. It's because he sees potential in Kellen Moore, and Kellen Moore is a very high IQ offensive coordinator to begin with. I think he could come in 32 years old. I really think he can rejuvenate the career of Kirk Cousins and I don't even think rejuvenate is the right word. I would say improve the career of Kirk Cousins.
I didn't think so.
So let's change that.
So we can hear more of You like that? You like that?
But no, I think he'd be good with that level of talent. I mean, look at what he had there. He had CeeDee Lamb. He has, Michael Gallup.
You know what?
He has Amari Cooper.
Think about that.
And he has Zeke. So essentially 4 weapons, kind of like Minnesota. The only difference is he's going to lose a little bit of mobility with Kirk Cousins.
I mean, yeah, but you gain it with, Dalvin Cook and having a decent, team around
and
that. So I think he can work with what he can give.
Yeah.
And look at where Dak has been with Kellen Moore. He's been just a quarterback that can just toss the ball around like it's nothing. Who's to say that Kirk Cousins is going to have, like, career years, Kellen, and be able to sling the ball with his top talent?
Yeah.
You know what? I kind of like that. I really do think I like that song there.
I persuaded you.
That happened.
I persuaded you.
No, because I almost totally forgot that he had it out there.
Yeah. All right. Dolphins job now.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Is this where you change Brian Dable's position?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put Brian Dable only because he's worked with, and he's also worked with Jalen. Exactly.
All right.
He knows what kind of players they are and knows how to ranks. I think it makes most sense to have the Alabama connection in Miami.
Be honest, you don't fire a coach like Brian Flores without having someone big named in mind. That said, the big names right now circulating, Jim Harbaugh and Eric Bieniemy. I think this is where Eric Bieniemy finally gets his opportunity, and in a perfect world, this is where I think Eric Bieniemy gets his chance, because I think he can find ways to be creative with Tua Tagovailoa. But in all reality, I think signs are pointing toward the other Brian in the AFC East.
I would hate to see him go because he's worked so well with Josh Allen in the 4 years of being in the NFL, but it's probably the best for the Bills to part ways with Brian Daboll.
I'm going to be honest with you here. Brian Daboll, Dolphins fans, I'm sure you may be listening. This is by all means a downgrade, in my opinion. All means a downgrade. Because there's a reason I think the Chargers went with Staley as opposed to Brian Daboll. And I don't think money was the issue. I think they saw more potential in Staley. But again, I just don't think Brian Daboll, after this year, really, Brian Daboll really kind of just, to me, sat back and said, good enough after last season. I didn't see any dramatic granted, there really was no way to dramatically improve from last year for Josh Allen, but MVP level would have been a step up, and I just don't think he hit anywhere near that MVP level this year compared to last year. So I guess if we're going to go on that scale, Josh Allen kind of declined in a way.
I mean, he probably did a little bit, but honestly, the completion, exactly.
Yeah, you're cutting.
But, I said the completion percentage wasn't exactly the greatest like it was last year, but the yardage and the touchdowns really didn't look any different than they were last year. And honestly, he's not going to put up Brady or Manning or Aaron Rodgers type numbers every single year. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I'll take what I got from him this year. I mean, to have over 4,300 yards, 2 great seasons.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, as long as it's enough to get the team into the playoffs consistently, and I will say, if there's been anything that Brian Daboll has brought to the Bills in his 4 years of being the offensive coordinator, consistency. Yeah, they had that 1 year where they missed playoffs, but there was still that consistency factor the last couple years when they made the playoffs. 3 years in a row, there's been consistency. Yep. And I think that's what the Miami Dolphins want to see. They want to start seeing some more consistency. And the only reason why I think that it makes the most sense for him going to Miami is you got Tua, who is a young quarterback, kind of not really consistent. I think Brian Daboll can help Tua becoming a more consistent passer and more consistent quarterback in general. Can help develop him into the quarterback that he very well could be. You have Jalen Waddle, you have Devontae Parker, you have Gesicki. Look at what Buffalo's got. They got Stephon Diggs, Gabriel Davis, Dawson Knox. I mean, you don't exactly have the best running backs, but Miami, if you look at Miami's situation right now, they got a running back committee. Buffalo's got a running back committee. I just think that the two teams, in its sense, seem very similar in the way that they put together their teams. So I think he could work with it and do very well at it. So that's who I think Miami could honestly go for. Who's next here?
All right. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. We're actually running a little low on time, but let's go with the Giants next.
I'm going to say Josh McDaniels goes for the Giants job.
You know, can I be honest where I was completely and totally wrong because last year I said Josh McDaniels was going to replace Bruce Arians. And then of course the Bucs went on to win the Super Bowl, so but no, I think Byron Leftwich here will get a job. I think he can help develop Danny Dimes, and I think he can help that offense. That's kind of why I'm going to lean toward Byron Leftwich, and they obviously want someone from Brady era.
Right.
But yeah, let's go on to the Broncos, though.
I'm going to say I think Dan Quinn has done enough to get a head coaching job yet again. I'd say Dan Quinn and the Broncos makes the most sense. Because look what he's done to the Cowboys defense. Who is to say he couldn't do the same thing for the Broncos?
Dan Quinn, but I think it's going to be another bad coaching hire by the Broncos, to be honest. I just don't see this one working out in any way, shape, or form. Now, keep in mind, right now, the Broncos, I believe I just read Peyton Manning and John Elway are both in a bidding war to buy the franchise. Who would have thought?
John Elway wants to be the owner of the Broncos.
If he's the owner, rest in peace, Broncos. Plain and simple. But no, Dan Quinn is my pick for the job as well. Let's go on to the final one, the Texans.
Oof. I have no idea. I really don't.
Yeah, this one's a tough one. I don't know. I'll tell you that I like Gerard Mayo. I think he's got this job because I think he'd be the only one foolish enough to take it.
I mean, honestly, this would be a job that anybody that would be desperate to be a head coach would take, honestly.
This is a job last year where we said, oh boy, this is a job that could make or break the decision for Deshaun Watson to stay or leave. It's now gone from that to being a job where you just know that you're not going to be successful there. I guess we can leave it at that. Let's get on to the picks here. Raiders and Bengals kick off Super Wild Card Weekend. Cincinnati a 5.5-point favorite.
Yep, I'm going Cincinnati. Raiders are going to be one and done.
Cincy's the best team between the two of them. Cincy's going to win their first playoff game in over 30 years. Anyway, Patriots and Bills. Bills 4.5-point favorites. Keep in mind, negative wind chills, going to be 0 degrees, I believe, at kickoff. This could be a very, very interesting game.
I think the momentum's going to actually help the Bills in this factor. As much as it's going to painfully for me to say, I'm going to have the Bills over the Pats, even though my gut's telling me the opposite.
I don't know. There's one thing Bill Belichick does right. He prepares for situations like this better than any other coach in the league. I see another game where I just think Sean McDermott's going to get out-coached. I'm going to pick New England here. I do say it's going to be close, and it's going to be another low scorer, but I trust me, I like the Bills on paper.
The only reason why I go with the Bills over the Pats here is look at what they did with the game in New England. Yeah, the weather was a little bit better than it was in Buffalo, but the game plan was so much better in the regard that they just had the answers.
Yeah.
They took Mac Jones completely out of the game, past him. But I think what they could take away from this game is prepare the defense
Yeah.
for Damian Harris and all the other running backs, because the last two times you went up against them, the running backs had field days. So if there's anything that is good about facing a team for 3 times in a row, you already have game film on those two matchups. You know exactly what you need to do to game plan around it.
Yeah.
So I think Buffalo's going to take that game plan where they saw that the running backs went all over them, and I think they're going to prepare their defense ahead of time. So I think that in that regard, Buffalo's front
Four.
four, front five, whatever you want to call it, I think they're going to be prepared. I think they're going to beef up that defensive line for once and be prepared for a run-heavy Patriots offense.
One can only hope.
Where they're going to have to force Mac Jones to actually have to throw the ball more.
One can only hope is what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
but
right.
I just don't like the conditions in favor of the Bills.
No, I don't either, man.
Anyway, Eagles, Bucks, do we have to pick this one? Tampa Bay's an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I'm going to go Bucks here. I don't think that's any question. Cowboys, 49ers, the Nickelodeon game, the Slime Time game. Cowboys a 3-point favorite.
I'm going to call for the upset. I'm going to go with the 49ers beating the Cowboys.
I think the 49ers are a team that's better than their record shows and better than what the stats show. Okay, they're a team that should have very well competed with the Cardinals and the Rams this year. But I'm going to go Cardinals here. I think they got more weapons. I think they're better defensively. So I think
You mean 49ers?
Yeah, the 49ers. I think they're better all around than the Cowboys.
You said the Cardinals.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I messed up. Anyway, Steelers, Chiefs. Oh, boy. Big Ben's retirement party. Congrats on a great career, Ben.
I like how he flat out says that his team has no chance against the Chiefs.
That's sad.
Way to keep it real.
I think we know who we're picking Sunday night. Monday night.
The Chiefs. And let me tell you something. It was nice seeing you play in the NFL, Big Ben. It was also nice seeing you play live twice.
Yeah. All right. With that, though, let's go on to the Cardinals and the Rams. The Rams a 4-point favorite, and if round 1 and round 2 wasn't enough for you guys, this is going to be a hell of a matchup. Probably the matchup of the week right here.
See, when this was like the beginning of the year, this would have been a very intriguing matchup. Cardinals were looking really, really good. Rams were looking really, really. But right now, the Cardinals have kind of dropped off a little bit. Rams started off hot, dropped off, and then they went back on the mountain. Cardinals, they started off really, really hot, and kind of fell down. You get people back, you get DeAndre Hopkins, but again, I just think that the injuries are going to play a factor for the Cardinals, so I'm going to have to go with the Rams or the Cardinals here.
I don't know. The Rams haven't been too consistent since their recent acquisitions. That's why I'm going to go with the Cardinals. Plus, the Cardinals are 8-1 on the road this season, so that's another reason why I'm going to lean toward Arizona. That's it for our picks, but before we go, is it too early to make a Super Bowl pick based on all this?
Trent. I think Green Bay will be there for NFC. As far as AFC, oh, it's tough to tell. I want to think Kansas City, but yeah, I'm gonna have to probably go in a sense Kansas City, Green Bay rematch of
Yeah.
Super Bowl one.
If it's not the Packers, I think it's the Cardinals, but I'm going to go Green Bay because I think if it comes down to Arizona in Green Bay, I just don't think they're going to win that matchup.
No,
So I'm going to go Green Bay. I think the NFC is a little bit more clearer to pick. AFC, frankly, I think, if the Bills win this game, I think they can beat Kansas City.
yeah,
They're a team that can beat Kansas City. It's tough to say that Tennessee could beat them a second time. But honestly, I'm going to go Tennessee. I'm going to say Green Bay, Tennessee for the Super Bowl. Because I don't know. I feel like if the Bills squeak this one out, they beat Kansas City in the next round if they play Kansas City.
yeah. Something screams it might end up being Buffalo and Tennessee AFC Championship game wise. That's what I'm predicting
Yeah.
it is.
And I just like Tennessee because Derrick Henry gets that extra week to rest and
Right.
get prepared. And Julio Jones, too. I mean, Julio Jones has been a bust all year for everything it's worth. But to get that week to rest his hamstring, that's crucial.
I love my job and it pays really well.
And it's a huge blow to Kansas City, a team that kind of needed the bye week and the home field
I know.
advantage. But anyway, that's all we got for this Saturday edition. Thanks for watching. We will see you tomorrow morning for Tinkle Sports Talk on the other platforms. If you're watching on Facebook, you got to go over to YouTube tomorrow, or Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or heck, even Google Podcasts. Otherwise, if you're on YouTube, we'll see you tomorrow. Till then, goodbye, everyone.